People's Democratic Party has said President Bola Tinubu's speech on the ongoing protest confirmed the All Progressive Congress administration's insensitivity towards Nigerians and the precarious situation in the country. National Publicity Secretary of PDP, Honorable Debo Ologunagba, said it is appalled that despite his prodding of the president to speak to the nation, his speech failed to offer any concrete measure to address the excruciating hardship in the country. Ologunagba, in a statement, said the president's speech failed to respond to the demands by the citizens for immediate measures to reduce the price of petroleum products, halt the fall of the naira, and urgent intervention in the provision of food items to starving Nigerians. PDP, however, called on President Tinubu to come to terms with the facts that the nation is in dire straits under his watch. The Conference of Nigeria Political Parties, on its part, said President Tinubu's speech was a grossly inadequate response to the widespread protests sweeping the nation. CNPP lamented the president's silence on concrete measures to alleviate the suffering caused by the removal of fuel subsidies. CNPP, in a signed statement by his Deputy National Publicity Secretary, Comrade James Ezema, described the president's address as a masterclass in evasion, obfuscation, and blame shifting, failing to address the core issues driving the protest. The CNPP also condemned the APC's government's decision to float the naira without a full cabinet in place, arguing that it has exacerbated the economic chaos, leaving Nigerians to bear the brunt of the administration's incompetence. Strong word there by PDP and CNPP. But let me start with you, Victor. What is your take on this? Do you agree with them that the president's speech failed to address the real issues and demands of the protesters?
I do. I mean, in all honesty, I agree that, the speech of the president did not, address or cushion any effect or the reason for the protests. I say this because, when we have a government that is mostly reactive rather than being proactive, these are the kind of issues that you have. And the truth is this: there's no amount of statements, there's no amount of words that this president would have said. When I say word, as an actionable word that he would have said that would stop or immediately reduce the sufferings and the reason for the protest. There is none. Even if he comes down to say, I reduced fuel to 45 naira, we know that is impractical. We know that it is not feasible. So it will still do nothing. If he comes to say, I reduced rice to 30,000 naira per kg for the whatever bag, it will not do anything because it is not enough to say it. Is it something that is actionable? No. So for me, no matter what the president, would have said, it still would not have done. Although what some Nigerians were looking for is, for the president to come, and tell them that their fears are not real. Tell them that the sufferings will end immediately. And if the government has, before now, taken decisions on action that have impoverished or further impoverished the people, no statement, no press conference or press release would alleviate that. Rather, what I expect to see is practical terms. I mean, I don't know. I'll speak for myself. We've been hearing of thousands of bags of rice, to different states. I have not. Okay. I have friends across the nation. I've not heard one person tell me who I was able to buy a 60 kg bag of rice for this amount. I have not seen, I have not heard. And if that is not, I mean, we've been hearing of CNG buses for how many months now? I don't know the person that has entered buses, CNG buses in this part of this country, or even seen a plant being built, because they kept saying they are building stations across the nation. We have not seen. And if we're not seeing this thing, if you come and tell us that rice is now free, and I'm still going to buy a cup of rice for above 500, your statement makes no sense. So for me, at this point, what we need is beyond press release and whatever the president did there. For me, bound to pressure to, from what people have been saying, come out and talk. For me, he should take decisions, the government of the day. For instance, some weeks ago, we had Kerry come out to say that the refinery will start producing, Port Harcourt refinery will start producing by August. Are we in April? Is this not August? What did the president come out to say? By 17th of August, the refinery will start producing. Did he say that? He did not say. And those are the kind of things that the people wanted. You know, and when you say things like that, definite statement. It wasn't done. Rather, what we were getting is, you know, just like this, and the CNPP said, you know, shifting of blames. I understand that there are a lot of people to be blamed, and this is that aspect of his speech, you know, I respect. Talking about taking responsibility, it is my responsibility. Well, it's not enough to, you know, verbally say, I am taking responsibility. The speech did not give us timeline. The speech did not give us specifics. The speech did not give us, you know, tags to hold on to and say, this is what the president says. So for me, the speech, it really did not do any positive to the government or the people. All right.
Damzi, now some persons, you know, were of the opinion that, like Victor has said, the governor was shifting, the president was shifting blames, but then the president, probably it's open to argument, but then wasn't it important at this point that the president makes it clear that, okay, I have taken this step to alleviate the pain that you feel. I have, over time, you know, increased the FAC allocation to your state governors. And you recall that the president in his speech said that over 570 billion has been released to the governors. So should he take all the blame? The people should get to know where their monies are going to. The people who are protesting should also know that apart from holding the president responsible, state governors have questions to answer. And not just state governors when you look at it critically, even the Senate, even the House of Rep, even the state houses of assembly, because, I mean, they get constituency projects, the tunes of hundreds of millions. So, but then, what's your take? Do you agree that the president's speech didn't do much? And then the angle of shifting blames, was the president wrong to tell Nigerians that this is the step I have taken? If these governors had actually judiciously made use of this money, don't you think it would have actually trickled down to the grassroots and they would have felt some level of relief?
Okay, let me start with the president's speech. Okay, the reason for effective communication, like we know, is to communicate a particular message, okay, to the audience or participatory audience that are listening. In this case, what necessitated the presidential address that day was as a result of the End Bad Governance protest in Nigeria. And the End Bad Governance protest listed out a number of demands. Okay? One would have expected Mr. President to come out and address those demands one after the other. For example, a particular concern is on the removal of subsidy. We expected Mr. President that very day to tell Nigerians the gains of the removal, but we didn't hear them say anything about the benefits this removal of subsidy have yielded the country. And it is believed that removing the subsidy will help the country in terms of boosting our savings and making us rich. Because a country who intends to save trillions of dollars on that removal should be a rich country by now. We should be boasting that in our reserve we have so amount of money and we are investing it in a particular sector. The president never told us all that. He only came out and kept assuring things will get better. Same thing they told Nigerians 9 years ago, that things will get better. We should be patient with President Buhari. President Buhari, you know, has done out his term, and they are still asking Nigerians to be patient that things will get better. That strategy is wrong. It's wrong because there are demands made by Nigerians. Mr. President, address the issue of subsidy. In my opinion, I had expected Mr. President to say, okay, let us have a short-term measure of removal of this subsidy. Let's have a short-term measure. We are reverting back to subsidy payment for a number of months, maybe 6 months. to cushion the effect of fear. Maybe bringing down fuel price to, even though not the 100 naira protesters are asking, but at least to a reasonable price of 300, 350, up to even 400. That would douse the tension. You know, the food crisis, the food inflation is biting on the people. Look at, I bought tomato yesterday. I know how much I bought. It's just so annoying. So Mr. President needed to address these demands one after the other. He failed. One important thing I love so much in his speech is the issue of ethnic bigotry. I love that, and I hail him for taking up that stand. It is totally unacceptable for a particular section of the country to, you know, jeopardize another section. So then addressing the concern Mr. President raised, that he has been releasing improved allocations to the governors. Yes, the governors should share a bigger part of the blame. I stumbled into a document, you know, which has monies released to state governors since 1999. It's quite heartbreaking. If such money is judiciously put in use, my brother, we would have had something better than United States, like 3 places. So the president alone shouldn't bear the blame. The National Assembly members also should share part of the blame. We expect them as leaders by now to make sacrifice to the country by cutting down cost of governance, beginning from the president to the least appointee in his cabinet. Cut cost of governance, criminalize traveling abroad for medicals for political office holders.
Who are the ones to criminalize it?
Yes, if the government, see, it's all about political will.
Do you see that happening?
Knowing the politicians we have in Nigeria, I don't see it happening.
Now,
I don't see it happening because of greed.
When you say cutting cost of governance, you recall that when the president came into power, he clearly said that the economy was, you know, dangling on the apex, on the brink of collapse. He made some very concerning revelations about the economy and the state of Nigeria. Now, after all that statement was made, you would agree with me, how many billion was released for the office of the First Lady to buy cars? Can you recall that?
About 1.5 billion.
How many billion again was released for the Senate to buy vehicles? Over 70 billion. Should we go on and on and on? The president expended his monies on international trips in 6 months. Should we go on and on? When you look at the cost of governance, you would wonder, and probably one of the probably some of the things that angered the protesters even more after the presidential speech was, these were the concerns of the protesters. We cannot be crying, and prayers will be sent into the accounts of certain people, and eagle will be landing anyhow in the Senate floor, while even chicken cannot land in the houses or on the table, on the dining table of the citizens on whose mandate and taxes they are feeding fat. So the question is, even though the actions by some of the protesters are condemnable, you know, taking the violent approach, probably because they don't know much, or they don't know who to address their anger to. But the thing here is this: is it not time that protesters start genuinely asking questions, because these demands are by so many people? And is it not time to actually focus on the states and start demanding that governance should actually trickle down to them? Yeah, take it or not, the federal government is very far from the grassroots, but the state is closer. The local government is even closer than the state. Isn't it time? You recall in Rivers State, protesters went to government house, and the governor, in response, after saying, "I feel your pain," offered them money for pure water and bread. That is in comparison to the 5 billion naira palliative. Now, when he was offering the money for pure water and bread, he did not at any point say, oh, we have received so and so amount of money, intervention fund from the president. Probably, if the presidential speech had come before the protesters went to government house, I am sure the reaction would be quite different. They will be demanding from the governor. Because if you divide 570 billion, that is over 15 billion naira for one state. So I think at this point, the state governor should make it make sense to the citizenry. What are they doing with monies given to them, Victor Niche? Is it not time for the right questions to be asked the right people?
I think it's not time. It's been time several years ago.
Interesting.
It's way past the time. It's interesting how we talk about ending bad governance and then we're looking at president. What is governance? Basically, the machinery that drives, organization in every society. We have governance in rural areas, governance in the state, federal. What is government? Government is IGR. The states, the federation will generate funds, or the different federating states will generate funds to send to the federation account. The federal government will now sit down and say, okay, this is what you take because of, according to certain factors, different states take. Why are they releasing the funds? The idea is this is what you need to develop your people. This is what you need to develop your people. So they give out to the various states. Then we will hold this one. We are going to hold it so that anything you cannot do, we are going to do. Well, what it means is that everybody has a role, a function. The question, just like you asked, and I think is very important, is what is being done by the state government? What is being done by these people with the money that is being released to them? Can we say, in all honesty, that the presidency or the federal government has not given the state enough fund to execute proper governance at the state level? If we cannot say that, what it will mean is that the president or the federal government has not failed in its responsibility to disburse funds or monies that is meant by the state to develop their various areas. Rather, what we can say is that, trickling down the cause and effect, that it is the state government that has failed in implementing this thing, that monies are being given for them to function. Because if the state government had come out to say, we don't have enough money from the federation account, we're not receiving enough funds for the federal government, that is why we're not functioning as a state, we can hold the federal government completely. But this one, the state government have not complained. As a matter of fact, they have even come out to say, we have received more money from the federation account, we have received more money from the presidency. But have we done what we're supposed to do? What can we say? Let's use a case study for Rivers State. And you might be surprised to know how well Rivers State is doing as compared to several other states. Because if you go to some state like Bayelsa, you ask yourself, are you saying that there are government in this place? Are you saying we have governance? The amount of money, billions of naira running into trillions that have been released for the past 10 to 9 years. What is the significance? What can you point out to say, okay, this is what has been doing? What are the systems set in place for agriculture to function in the state? What are the systems set in place for industries to function? What are the systems or the policies set in place for some of these things to happen? I mean, interestingly, just recently, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, I heard the governor talk about a state investment something summit, drive.
Economic summit.
No, not the summit. I think an agency to drive investment. Good. That is good and fine. And these are the kind of things we want to see. But we still have to hold the government to an account. The state government, just like the barrister mentioned, they are the people closest to us. These are the people we see. These are the people that go to the same market with us, whether we like it or not. These are the people that know our family members. These are the people that are close to us. The question is, what and how far have they done? Because there's no excuse. Nobody is saying that the federal government is not releasing enough money. I mean, quite interestingly, the state government of Rivers has said IGR has improved drastically. So what is the significance? What can we point out to say this is it? And I'm not talking politically now because I'm not really concerned about the politics right now. What I'm concerned about is good governance. What is being done by the state government? Who is the commissioner for agric in the state? And what is being done? What are the implementations? the state government has the ability to ensure that we buy the least locally produced, which is Gari. How much do you buy Gari? You go to the market, they will tell you that this Gari is from Enugu State. They will tell you this Gari is from, and we have the prestigious Gari, we have Eche Gari, we have all of this, and yet the state government has not been able to regulate this sector. Let's just imagine that everything is expensive, but we're buying Gari cheap. We can say, okay, the government is doing this.
I bet on Gari is 27,000. Last time I bought, by the way, it's more now.
It's more than that.
All right.
So for me, we need to hold the local government chairman that we see. What are you doing with the 5-10 billion that you're getting? It's not to renovate market.
We are looking at increased FAC allocation. We are looking at increased IGR of over 27 billion monthly. Monthly. Very important that we note that. Increased FAC allocation. And when it comes to FAC allocation, over 1 trillion naira is shared.
And this is what you get monthly.
Now the president is making this startling revelation. Would you say in Rivers State that you feel the impact of all this increased FAC allocation, increased IGR, and even the recent billions being sent down to the state? Do you feel it in Rivers State? Very quickly, and then your final word.
Not just me. I will be speaking the mind of Rivers people. Rivers people don't feel anything. Nothing much is happening here as far as I'm concerned. The state is just, it's not moving. The economy is not encouraging. Everywhere is just slow. Nothing is happening. It's as if, we are not even receiving anything. Maybe probably the few money received, His Excellency have channeled through the CTC member to share to those that are loyal and working with them. That's exactly what they have done. You see some of them buying vehicles, operational vehicles, even for the police. I happen to, question one. Why is your principal buying operational vehicles for police, which is a federal agency, and this is funds meant for the development of the local council and the local people? Why not channel that funds on healthcare, building markets, possibly increase the number of keke and all that bought for the people, instead of buying operational vehicles for the police? I don't really know what has happened to politicians in Nigeria, but we pray God liberates us.
All right. Thank you so much, Ndamzi, for coming on Open Conversation. It's always a pleasure having you. Thank you, Victor Inyeche, for coming. It's always a pleasure having you, Victor.